The short answer is no, it's not worth getting, or at least not yet. The main complaint that I've seen a lot of people talk about is the performance of the game. And the reason for that is two main things. First of all, the optimization for the game is pretty bad. And secondly, there is literally no end game. Like, if your favorite thing about Borderlands games is the end game and farming for gear, you're gonna be pretty disappointed because there is nothing to do pretty much once you beat the game. But that's just the short, like, straight to the point answer. So what about the in-depth answer? First of all, let's start off with what's good about the game. So first and foremost, the gameplay, right? That's the thing that most people are gonna be asking about. That's the thing that I've seen a lot of people have questions about. Is the game fun? And the answer to that is yes, the game is very fun. I would go as far to say that it is just as fun as Borderlands 2, if not more fun. I mean, I've had a great time playing the game. It's a lot of fun. The weapons feel good. The enemies are fun to fight. They don't seem too spongy, but they also aren't too easy. I've noticed that the difficulty of the game seems to be more difficult, basically. It feels kind of like how Borderlands 2 was, where it's not like a walk in the park, but there is a little bit of difficulty. You know, you do kind of need to spend some time making a decent build. However, on the other side, which I'll talk about more later, the skills are much more important in this game. Pretty much every skill is good. In the past games, there were tons of skills that were just basically useless. I mean, even from the start, they were just not good skills. Whereas now, pretty much every skill is good in some way, which I like. There's a lot of build diversity in the game, which is another positive. The build diversity, I'm gonna call it right now, the build diversity is amazing. I mean, there are gonna be so many builds for every character. Each character has the normal 3 skill trees. I say that in air quotes because, you know, 3 skill trees. There's 3 different action skills basically. However, each skill tree has 3 branches, and I'd say there's probably enough skills to say that every character has the equivalent of double what they had in previous games. Even though there's 3 skill trees, because of the 3 smaller branches, it kind of equates to twice as much as what we've had in previous games. So there is a lot of build diversity, which is great. I mean, build diversity is always a good thing, right? Literally every previous game, there were like 1, maybe 2 builds for every character, like viable end game builds. Whereas in this game, I haven't made it to end game yet, but at least for now, I can say that there's going to be a lot of build diversity, which, like I said, that's a good thing. That's a great thing. So gameplay, amazing. Great gameplay. Bosses are fun. Enemies are fun to fight. The skills are great. All the characters look interesting, at least in my opinion. I personally chose Vex, and Vex is a lot of fun. Harlow looks fun too. Rafa looks fun. The only one that I'm kind of like iffy about is the Forge Knight, although I still do think he looks kind of cool. He just doesn't look as cool as the other characters, at least in my opinion. Okay, so what else is good about the game? There's a lot to do. Besides the main missions, there's plenty of story missions. There's new things called like bounties, which, if you guys remember from previous games, the bounty boards, those no longer give you side missions. They give you like these bounties you can do, which is like, go fight this world boss, or go find this thing. They kind of are like side missions, I guess, but they're not like, they don't really have a story. It's just go do this thing. It's a little bit different, but there are plenty of side missions. The ones I've done so far are really fun. A lot of the side missions kind of build onto the backstory of the game, whereas the main missions are what's actively going on, which I kind of like. I don't really like side missions that are just haha funny, goofy. They don't really talk about much. It's just for the memes, right? Which Borderlands does a lot of, is just funny side quests, which, I mean, that's fine, but I don't like it when that's all it is. It's just side quests that don't make any sense, that clearly aren't actually in lore and are just there to basically pander out the amount of things to do. Overall, the missions are pretty fun. They don't seem like they're boring to do or anything like that. Besides that, there's plenty of collectibles to go for, and there's actually a reason to go for them. Basically, how it works is every collectible you find, you get these like SDU tokens, and the SDU tokens are used to increase your like your ammo capacity, how many guns you can have in your, or I guess not just guns, how many pieces of equipment that you can have in your backpack at a time, or your bank, or your lost loot. Going out and finding collectibles actually benefits your character pretty significantly. There's also things like vehicle parts you can find. There's vault fragments, so you can do vault runs, which are pretty cool. Overall, there's a pretty good amount of stuff to do until you get to endgame, which I'll get into more later. But like I said before, the endgame leaves a lot to be desired. Now, moving on to the graphics, the game, a lot of people have said that the game doesn't look much better than Borderlands 3. Personally, I disagree. I think that the game looks absolutely stunning. Borderlands has never really been known for having amazing graphics. It's always been more of like the art style. That's what looks good about the game. The game is never meant to be like realistic looking or have all these nice screen eye candy effects or anything like that. The game has always kind of just been like more of a cartoony, like goofy look than an actual nice look. However, in this game, I feel like it is a huge graphical improvement over Borderlands 3. So although the game does run really bad, it also looks really nice. Now, another big thing that was a huge complaint in Borderlands 3 was the story. The story in Borderlands 3 was just, let's be honest, it was super cringe. The story was just cringy. The characters were cringy. The villains were cringy. You didn't want to kill the villains. You didn't want to fight the villains because you didn't like them, or because you didn't like them, but not because they were good villains. You didn't like them because they were annoying and they acted like narcissistic brats pretty much. Like they were no Handsome Jack, right? Handsome Jack had character development. The Calypso twins were just cringe. That's why you wanted to kill them, was because they were cringe, not because they were good villains. Whereas in this game, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I will say that the villain in this game is a good villain. He's kind of like Handsome Jack, except much more of like a tyrant or a fascist. Like he is a really good villain. So overall, the story is pretty good, actually. I don't have any complaints so far. I've been enjoying the story, and it feels like Borderlands is finally, like, Gearbox is finally taking Borderlands seriously again, instead of it all just being a joke or satire or for the memes. It does seem like they're actually taking the story seriously again, which I personally like. You know, obviously Borderlands has always been known for being satirical and being, you know, having a bunch of memes and stuff like that in the game, and that's fine. But in my personal opinion, I feel like the main story should be much more, like, taken much more seriously, which it definitely seems like they're doing in this game. And building off of that, it kind of feels like Borderlands 4 is a mix of Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, and Borderlands 3 in both the art style and also like how ideas of the game kind of come together, being the music, being the gameplay, being the story, the art. I guess I say the art style, more so like the theme of the game. A lot of it gives like Atlas vibes from like the first game. It does kind of seem like they've taken all of the good things from each of the mainstream games and kind of combined them together into one. There isn't much bad to say about the game, but the things that are bad about the game are pretty bad. There are two main complaints that I have about the game, and then there's like a small, like third, like smaller complaint. First big complaint I have is, as I've said earlier, the optimization. It is really, really bad, unfortunately. If you're running anything lower than, I'd say, probably a 3080, you're probably gonna have a bad time. I mean, in order to run the game, and this is stated by Randy Pitchford, by the way, if you have anything lower than a 2070, the expectation is you won't even be able to run the game, which is insane. I mean, don't get me wrong, a 2070 isn't exactly a new card, right? It's still getting to the point where it is kind of outdated, but a 2070 is still a good card. It's still a good card to get, especially if you're more on the price sensitive side of things. There's no reason why you should need to get a 3080 to play a modern game. In order to have a good experience, you're probably going to want at least a 3080, which is insane. Yeah, a 3080 isn't exactly top of the line anymore, but that's still a very, very strong card. I mean, like I said before, I'm running a 3090 Ti, and my GPU is like struggling to really push out a decent frame rate. I mean, after the day one patch, I'd say I probably got on average about 10 more FPS. So it is clear that they are trying to fix the problem, but it is a really big problem right now. As it stands right now, I'm running just under 4K. I have an ultra-wide monitor. I'm running 3440 by 1440, and the game runs okay. Like it's just to the point where I'd say it's acceptable for my GPU, but it is clear that the optimization is basically an afterthought for them. It's something that I feel like they're planning on doing post-launch here. At least I hope. I highly doubt that they're just going to be like, oh, the game's out, we're not optimizing it anymore. I really don't think that's what they're going to do, especially after a lot of the backlash. I do feel like they are going to optimize the game more. It just might take some time, which is why I said initially, as of right now, I cannot recommend getting the game, because I feel like a lot of people, first of all, are not going to be able to enjoy it like they might in the future, because it's just not going to run well on their machine. And I would just save your money for now and wait until they fix a lot of the bugs and they add more content. There's no like takedowns, there's no raid bosses, really not much to do. So the best thing I would do right now, if you are planning on getting this game, is focusing on leveling up every character to max, if that's something you like to do, getting all those collectibles, getting your story missions done, figuring out your build, and just grinding for some general gear that you want to be using going forward, because they have, I will say, I do feel like they are pretty passionate about this game. I mean, they've done a really good job in the game. I do feel like they are very passionate about it. I just feel like the optimization is something that they need to work on, which they are. Like I said, the day one patch did help a lot, but they still need to work on it some more. I mean, they already have the year one roadmap out, and it looks very promising. I mean, they have a lot of content planned. They're looking at putting out a raid boss sometime this year, and they are adding pearlescents. That is confirmed. Pearlescents are going to be in the game. They are not in the game yet, but they will be in the game at some point in the near future. That does leave some hope, right? They're not just like, oh, this is the game, we're not changing it much until a DLC comes out. No, they are adding free content down the road. And the third thing I had an issue with was the lack of a HUD. This is going to be personal preference, but I mean, a HUD is just a quality of life thing. Borderlands games have always had a HUD, and unfortunately that is just not a thing in this game. Not entirely sure why. Maybe it was too difficult to put in. Maybe it would have taken too much time. I don't know the reason why. Obviously, I don't work for Gearbox. But what I can say is having the compass is just really confusing. Like there are a lot of times where I just got lost for 5-10 minutes because I had no idea where to go. Because yeah, the compass will show you which direction you need to go to, but it's like, okay, that's just the general direction. You know, that doesn't account for verticality. That doesn't account for, you know, doors in your way. Maybe you have to go around. It doesn't account for anything like that. It just shows you which direction your objective is. And even then, there are so many, like, they just clutter in all of these symbols for different things, right? Like vending machines and all that. They clutter all of that in on the compass, and it makes it really confusing, especially at first when you're new to the game. They did kind of get around that issue by adding in this like new direction system where you press Z on the keyboard and your little echo guy, your little robot friend will pop up and then show you like a line to where you have to go. That is kind of nice, but it is a little bit finicky. It's not always super accurate. And there are a lot of times where it doesn't help as much as I feel like it should, because you click it once, right? And it pops up, it shows you a line to where you have to go, and then it lasts for 8 seconds. And there's a lot of times where I'm in like a vehicle, for example, and I'm driving around and I'll tap it and it'll tell me where to go. I'll start going in that direction, and then I'll like lose it or something, and I'm like rapidly tapping Z trying to get it to pop back up, but it has like a cooldown, which that's one thing I want to say. I really hope they remove the cooldown on the direction system, because it just takes way too long. Really, everything about the game, a lot of the concerns that people had, I feel like they did a pretty good job. The story's fun, the gameplay's fun, the content is fun until you get to the end game, because there isn't really much to do. But generally speaking, the content is fun. The characters are fun. There's plenty of build diversity. The weapons feel good. The combat feels good. However, the bad things, a pretty big deal, are the optimization leaves a lot to be desired. There is pretty much no end game, and could be a lot of quality of life work that I hope they put into the game. But overall, besides those three things, I would say the game is a great game. It's just they need to fix those things. So going back to what I said before, I can't really recommend the game right now because I do think it's going to run pretty poorly on most people's machines. But if you do have a really beefy computer, absolutely worth the price, 100%. And I do think that they will improve on the game. I do think that they will fix a lot of these things. I do feel like they'll add a lot more content, kind of like what they did in Borderlands 3. It's just right now, in the current state of the game, for most people, I'm just gonna go and say, don't get it yet. So those are my day one thoughts about the game. I hope this helped a lot of you out who are maybe thinking about buying the game but aren't entirely sure. I've seen a lot of people ask questions to streamers about whether or not it's worth. But yeah, that's really all I have to say. I hope you have a good weekend. Later.